How would you like to make your first million? And today we're here for a treat, a fellow Cuban-born entrepreneur, probably the first Cuban-born entrepreneur that has come as guest to this podcast that now we are doing. So Joel Gandara is a Cuban-born entrepreneur, author, and men's coach who helped men live with power, purpose, and presence. He's the founder of the 31 Daily Challenge LLC and creator of the Next Level Man in 31 Days to Become a Better Man program and leader of the Brotherhood community for men committed to excellency in health, wealth, and relationship. So, Joel, tell us, what are the 5 steps that you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
All right, let's see if I get to 5 or I pass 5. I'm just going to rattle off what I think are some important steps. By the way, these might not be for everyone. These were for me. Number 1, I worked 7 days a week. If there would have been 8 days, I would have worked 8 days. I remember years without a day off. That was my way of doing it. I came with nothing. So there. I think you have to be very intelligent with money, especially when there's not much of it. Later, you want to splurge when you've got 7 figures in cash and plenty of cash flow, go for it. But in the beginning, I had to be very cheap with my money. I got made fun of by all my friends for driving the oldest, ugliest car, and everybody had nice cars, but I was building something. So be smart with money. Move fast. Doesn't matter if you break things. Move fast. Test it. Quit making a 10-year plan that takes, a plan that takes you 6 months to figure out. Just go test it. Find a way to just go pretend you have that product. Put it on a website and see if anybody buys it. Just test fast so you don't waste all that time. Find someone to guide you. Get a mentor. Highest, most successful person you can find. And that in the beginning isn't very impressive, but you will work your way up as those become your friends. They introduce you to new people. Don't make excuses. Don't make excuses. And then here's a good one. I have a shirt on by a company that's owned by a Navy SEAL named Hector Delgado. I didn't know you were going to ask this, but I happen to have this shirt because the next one is don't quit. And this shirt, he wrote here, you don't quit. You always find a way to win. So don't quit. I mean, you could pivot and you can make changes, but don't quit. And the big dream can change too. My dreams have changed year after year. But just don't quit. Just keep getting up every morning and pushing hard.
Wow, being a Cuban-born entrepreneur, Joel, that sounds almost impossible because over there they don't allow entrepreneurship to grow. And then when you come here, right? My understanding that you came in a boat, and this behind you is the t-shirt that you were wearing. So you come into a new world, and you have to survive. And the only way that you know is to find a job and to get paid, which is 360 different how to become an entrepreneur. So can you explain us how this transition happened? How long did you were an employee? Where do you work? And from where this sense of entrepreneurship show up to you? There is always everyone out of the 500 million who interview in this podcast. The entrepreneurship have a gene. It doesn't matter if they were born in Cuba. It doesn't matter where they are. It's always within themselves, and it's gonna be a moment of a spark for this entrepreneur to flourish. But what actually happened? Tell us about your transition from employee to entrepreneur.
Yeah. So one of the best blessings I've ever had in my life is that I was brought up in poverty in not only Cuba, obviously, but I grew up near Oakland, California, very poor. So when you're poor, there's pressure, there's stress, and I like stress. I like challenges. I realize that's molded me and molded some of my great friends. I guess it was inside of me. I had to have something spark it, just like you said. And those couple of things are, my uncle Jorge came to this country way before us, and at 14 years old. And so he started doing things like going to garage sales and buying things and then taking it to the flea market. Then he became a mailman, but he did that on his 2 days off. And he always hustled like that. My dad, right? Because my dad was born in a free Cuba in 1949. So he saw 10 years of capitalism and then a few more years of a little bit of capitalism until the Communist Party in Cuba shut it down. So when we got here, my dad went from being a electrical technician. He could do things. So I remember at church parking lot, we would finish church and he would open the back of the car. And in the parking lot, he'd sell lamps. And those lamps were plastic piggy banks, like a football, a tennis ball, a horse, that he would drill a hole through the top and the bottom, put a tube, run cables, put a light bulb, and make beautiful lamps. And he'd sell them for, I don't know, back then, $5 or, make a couple of dollars. And so I saw that and that became normal to me. My mom cooked at home after, they both had full-time jobs, and she'd cook and then sell it at church and sell it to neighbors and sell it to, so I always saw extra work. Now, here's what happened. Thank God I grew up poor. At 10 years old, we went to my grandmother's house on a Sunday. We always did that. And my aunt, she walked us, all the cousins, to the corner store, and everybody bought candy. But I bought these cards, these collectible cards. And on Monday, the next day, I took them to school. I was in fourth grade. I was 10 years old, and I showed all my friends, and they went crazy. They all wanted them. And I calculated what they each cost, and I doubled the price, and I sold them, and I sold all of it, and I had all that money. So guess what I did the next Sunday? I went back to my grandma's house and I bought everything I could. And then I did it again and again and again. And the prices kept going up because I got smarter. I learned about supply and demand, and really popular cards, I sold them for 10 times, 20 times the cost. And I kept doing that. And I'll tell you the fun part about all that. I learned a lot of lessons, but at the end of a month, I had $50 and I bought myself a $50 robot. This is in the mid 80s. That was a lot of money. My parents weren't buying me toys. They were buying me
Wow.
food and clothing. I bought my toys. At 10 years old, I was able to execute for the first time. And then I had many more opportunities like that to keep trying things out. My last job, I was in my late 20s, but I always had an entrepreneurship bug and a business on the side. In my late 20s was when I finally retired from working for people and spent the next 10 years building real businesses until I retired myself at 38 years old from the day to day of my own companies.
Wow, that's very impressive. So, Joel, what was the feedback of your parents regarding when you are early age that you were doing your entrepreneurship? I have a story. One entrepreneur friend of mine, uh, she from London. She started to when she was a kid. She started to do an egg business. Um, she has a actually her grandfather was Jewish, and then he has some kind of jewelry like esmeralda things like this. And the little girl go to say to the grandpa, I want one jewelry like this. How can I get it? And grandpa said, well, to get that you need money. And she said, okay, where can I get the money? And the grandpa said, okay, I'm gonna give you a hen. This hen, it will you have eggs, and then sell the eggs. And when you have some money, come and see me, and let me see what I can do for you. And then the kid go away so happy with the hen, and I start to the hen start to place eggs, and she was selling at the school, and the whole thing becomes so popular that that she has a lot of money under the pillow. And guess what happened? What happened one day? Her mom arrived to the house. She find out the pillow full of money, and she told her off big time. She said, "You crazy? What are you doing this business? You should be studying." So then she took all the money, she put it in a bank. I said, "Until you don't have 18 years old, you're never gonna touch this money again." And then she went off to the school and make a big deal to the professors. You guys should be ashamed of you buying eggs for a little kid, blah blah. Long story short, Joel, this friend of mine, she has owned several businesses, and she make a million losses. She make a lot of money, she lost it. She make a lot of money and she lost it because the back of her head has this traumatized
Guilt.
experience. Well, she has something in the back. It doesn't matter what business I do, something unexpected is gonna come and rip off away. So I better take a bad decision and losing myself. So I want to ask you this question because what were the your parents? Uh, when they saw you, because eventually they find out because you're arriving home with a new toy and they didn't provide that. How was the approach, and what lessons can you share about the approach of your parents compared with just the story that I shared with you?
Yeah, before I tell you about my parents, I'll tell you this. About 10 years ago, I was in a toy store. And it was an educational toy store with better toys. And one of the things they sold was a box that was a kit for kids to buy and make bracelets. And there was this boy who told his mom, I heard him say, Mom, if I buy this box for like $50, it brings this many bracelets. I could sell them at $2 each. I could make a couple $100. And the mom said to the boy, first of all, I was so proud of that kid. I don't know him, but I heard him say that, and I was getting excited for him. I have that, butterflies in my stomach. I wonder if he's going to
You
sell them, how
knew,
much he's going to make.
you knew
I
what
knew what
was
he's going to
inside this
do.
boy. Yeah, you knew. You
Yeah,
saw a reflection of you, right?
I saw myself. And then the mom goes, what are you, some sort of entrepreneur? What are you, crazy? No, you're not getting that. And then she said to the cashier at the store, my son's crazy. He thinks he's some sort of businessman. And that broke my heart. It wasn't my position to say anything. Nowadays, I think I would, but I just let that go and it broke my heart. And, I never thought of that because I've never been asked the question you just asked. But I guess I am very grateful that my parents were cheering me on, saying, wow, good for you. Good job. You're making money. Yeah, you can buy that toy. And I remember counting the
Wow, that's
money and thinking,
amazing.
yeah,
How
how
wise,
close I was getting.
how wise your
Yeah,
parents
thank
to
God.
support you,
But you know
right?
what? To be honest,
Wow.
I think it was out of necessity. I think it's because they couldn't buy me the toys. They probably wanted me to have some toys. And so let's see. So
Yeah,
one of
I'm
the things it
like
showed
you
me,
said. You said, "Thank God that I was poor," right?
oh yeah, because if I would have grown up with money, they would have given me money and then I wouldn't have worked
Maybe,
hard and I
yeah.
wouldn't enjoy life. I enjoy life because I live where I live. I have the life that I have, and I have a reference point of poverty to compare it to. So I get instant gratitude the moment I open my eyes and I see my street, my house, everything I have. Um, there was a moment that really showed me, I guess, that my parents were really supportive, and it was when I got told that I couldn't sell these cards anymore because they were a little grotesque. Nothing crazy, nothing illegal or anything that bad, but a little grotesque and monsters and ugly faces. And so they said I had to stop selling those in the school. And so I got stuck and I go, now what am I going to do? I need a new
What do you
product.
think that happened? That somebody, like a teacher or someone, told them something, or
Yeah, I was in fourth grade. I wasn't very smart. I wasn't hiding it. I was probably with my money in my hand and trading, and they saw it, and other kids talked, and that's okay. It's life. That taught me a lesson. So I remember telling my dad, "Can we go buy these little wrestling rubber action figures because I think I might be able to sell those." They were called muscles. It was an acronym for something. And I remember getting that first box, and I bought the box, and I sold them. I didn't make a lot of profit, so that wasn't the business. But I remember my dad at night after work, after school, taking me to a store to go buy those, and we were talking about what could I sell them each for. So yeah, I had that conversation, and I'm blessed.
wow, that's amazing. You see, that's very rare to find, and I think we have to break the conversation up because there is nothing wrong to be an entrepreneur, and totally the opposite. It's us who create jobs. It's us who move forward the economy. I remember in London, once I want to buy a house, and they told me, "You no, we're not gonna give you a mortgage." To me, no, no, no. To my employees, they all want to give the mortgage, but not to me. I said, "Look, I am the. They all work for me. How come you're gonna give them the mortgage?" I said, "No, Harry, because you're more risk." If the employee lost the job, they also can find another job, but you own the business, so if the business collapse, no, you are a huge risk. So we are, and on the eyes of society or in the finance world, so we are high risk. So nobody wants to deal with us. On top of that, we have to take a lot of risks, and we have to perform. Your first one of your steps was move fast, right? And this is something of one of the things that I have is something called speed of implementation. The people that know me closely, they know that when I'm moving really, really fast, and probably have been one of the main things of the success. Sometimes I move so fast and I don't analyze the risk properly, and there are a lot of failures as well and lessons to be
Yeah.
learned. But speed of implementation, definitely, the faster you fail, the faster you know what's going on, and the faster you can fix it. So, what message do you have for parents that that out there can have can in maybe in a minute just um, snap or remove the dreams of a silent entrepreneur? Let me tell you something. This kid will be an entrepreneur. It's just suppressed right now, but I'll tell you, it's already within. The fact that he said this is that he has the same gene, Joel, that you and I have, right? The difference
Yeah.
between your dad and that parent is that he's gonna develop this maybe 10, 20, 30 years later. But this is going out no matter what because already within himself. And it's kind of a luxury to have a dad that actually is driving and talking to you how much you're gonna sell it, kind of encourage. Probably he knew that you're not gonna make any money, because he already know how much it costs and everything. But still, he want to drive with you, want to encourage you, he want to see if he can make it, and things like that based on what he was doing because he knew he also was selling lamps. I said, well, if you can do something on the side, there is nothing wrong
Hmm.
uh, with it, which is something fantastic. So, what advice or what message do you have for parents and that they see entrepreneurship in kids like something that they shouldn't be doing? And by the way, this story, a lot of it, 500 millionaires that we interview, lots of people starting to do business when they were at school. They have been shared the stories here in the podcast, so it's more than it's actually very, very, very common. So, what message
Good.
do you have, Joel?
I'll give you the best message I could give, the best example I could give. I have four children from the ages of 20 down to 11. All four are entrepreneurs. My son was 18 years old, about to graduate high school, and he had $30,000 in the bank. How? Because in kindergarten, he said, I want to make money like you did when you were a kid. And so he said, how could
Wow,
I do it? So we went
very
out, we bought
impressive.
one box of, yeah, well, because he saw he wanted to have things. And I said, well, that requires money. You got to make money. And he kept hearing that. He goes, well, I want money. How can I do what you did? And that night after dinner, we went and bought a box of chocolates. And then we went door to door. I watched him from the sidewalk. He went up to the front door of the neighborhood and he went like that. And he made a lot of money. That's how he made most of his money when he was 18, got to 30,000, bought a car cash, started paying me rent at 18 years old in high school, and just did all these great things.
Wow, very
And
impressive.
as you go down, all four of our kids have done those things. And here's where I know this worked. Here's where I know this is true because two of them are still minors, but the other two are adults. And those two are out in the world. And they've both told me something very powerful. They've said, this world is so easy. One is in the university, and the other one's working full time as a mechanic and in the Army Reserves, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year in the summer. And they've both said, everything is so easy. It's because at home we prepared them for reality. And how do we prepare them for that? Hey, you're on your own financially. We're going to help you get rich, but then you're on your own. So you got to be smart with your money. You can't make excuses. You got to move fast. You got to work. You got to hustle. You got to knock on those doors. And so they've done all of that. They've been doing it for years. One of my sons just turned 18. He's going to make $78,000 this year. He's doing very well. He's on track for that without any
Wow.
exaggeration, just keeping where he's going. He doesn't have to increase it. He's going to do 78,000. That's pretty good. So if you want your
Imagine
kids to have,
the future that these kids are gonna have.
so I think if we make things easy for our children today, we are making ourselves feel good at their future expense. If we make it a little bit tough for them today with introducing real life within a safe structure, then it's tough for them today. But tomorrow, they're going to be in a great position.
How about the stereotypes? Because now you go and in the school and the other parents they disagree with you. They think that what you're preparing your children for is not necessarily the right path, that you should be telling them to study and to go to school and to get highest mark, to go for and find a job, and you have to be very good at your job so you can get promoted, which is the traditional path that society that society live. On the other hand, this kid with 18 years old, he knows something more powerful that the money that he made. He knows that he can create his job. So he knows that he doesn't need to go out there and and depend on anyone if they want to make money. So the future is so bright for those kids that they know that they can create their own money and they have a dad that support them. That's
Mhm.
really, really powerful. You know, my dad is still here, so understand what I do. My parents, they were teachers. And my mom is like, podcast? This is what, why are you doing this? What is this? And my dad, you know, they are, it's so far that it doesn't, I don't have not even the energy to explain what, what I'm doing. And there are no, I think that I'm so lucky that I have the biggest poor dads that anybody can have. You know, you have a poor dad, and I don't know if you hear about the book
Rich dad, poor dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay, I have a great, amazing poor dad and mom. You know, that
Yeah.
taught me. You see, you have to go to university. And then I went to university. I gave them the degree. They were both very happy, and I never used the degree in my life. You know,
Yep.
so I had
Well,
that
you asked
same like
something
you.
about
Yeah.
what's the thought, how would I feel about what other parents think?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's 99% of the population that probably think that way. I didn't take advice from the 99% to build my wealth. Uh, I took advice from that 1%, and I act like that 1%. And that 1% might seem weird to the rest. But to be honest, at a very early age, I learned to be the weird kid. I didn't speak the language. I got held back in school. We were the poor family. My mom cleaned hotel rooms. My dad fixed old radios. We didn't make very much money. And I got used to being the weirdo. I drove the bad car when my friends could finally afford nicer cars, and I could too, but I didn't care. I put that into buying my first house at 22 years old. Similar to what you did, I bought my first house. I got the master bedroom and bathroom for myself. And on the other side of the house, I rented those two rooms out for cash, paid my mortgage. 12 months later, bought my second house. 12 months later, my third. 15 months later, my fourth. And I was 24, 25 years old, and I was doing okay. I did that by being the weird kid. So I don't care what any parent ever thinks. I took advice
Okay.
from the 1%. That's what helped me build some wealth.
And how about your dad? Because one thing is when you're a kid, but now you're 22 years old, and now you decide to become an entrepreneur, and your dad has been an entrepreneur. I mean, sometimes kind of sole trader, right? He's doing this, has this client, making this money, and but then he's aware of the risks, and he's aware that he knows that entrepreneur there is no such a thing on 9 to 5, and no such a thing like this is not my job, right? In a job, you go and somebody says, do something, you say, no, I can, sorry, this is not my job. And you leave at 9 to 5, and then Saturday, Sunday, you need to think about anything, no business, you're resting. So what was the reaction of your family discussing this, because it's actually very important, and when you actually when they realize that actually you never gonna work for anybody, and
Yeah.
you're gonna be a full-time entrepreneur, that there were some concerns, what your uncle said, that your uncle also was an entrepreneur. Did they say, well, that's too much risk, I want the best for Joel, why let him go to university and find a job, he doesn't need to go for what we went to, it's too much risk, or still they shop supported to you knowing the risk that you were getting into?
Yeah, my dad's not one to take much risk. He always had a full-time job and just did little things on the side to make a little bit extra. To give you the end, the good news is that for many years, in 1 month, my net profit for the month was double my parents' annual salary combined. So my parents made very little, and I made a lot of money for decades. So in the end, it worked out. But my dad's advice was just keep a full-time job, and whatever you do, just do it on the side small, and finish
Yes,
college.
they
So
want to
it took
keep
me
you
10.
safe.
Yeah, they want to keep me safe, but that's their mentality. And I learned that after a while of bad advice from my dad. He kept saying, just slow down, stop doing that. So
Oh,
that's his,
welcome to my club. My mom is the same. Expanding,
through the same
don't
thing.
expand. To my mom,
Yeah.
every time that's expanding, don't expand. Why you need to expand? No expansion. And she doesn't even
Well,
know what I'm expanding.
yeah, I had the same thing. I bought 14 competitors in the apparel space when I owned my apparel company that I built, and we sold millions and made 7 figures net profit every year. And I remember acquiring a customer and telling my dad about it. And I said, Dad, you're not going to believe it. I'm buying this business. This is for like 300,000. It's nothing. It's going to make me like 300,000 net profit a year. And it's going to run from day one. It's a competitor. It's perfectly aligned. It's my same factory, my same tech team. Everybody's building it. And my dad said, when is it enough? I thought, I'm having the time of my life. And these are pretty secure gambles I'm taking. And now he says that he realizes that it was his limitations. See, my dad was a political prisoner in Cuba. He didn't have this encouragement, obviously. He had all this fear, and he went to sleep hungry at night. He was 17 years old when they sent him away for 3 years. So he has and his parents got an opportunity, so they left the country. So he was all alone, 17 years old in a communist country, a work camp, being forced to work every day. So obviously, I don't blame him. His advice was always to just get a job and relax, get a college degree. I got my college degree. I was 28 years old when I finished my bachelor's. It took me 10 years because I was working full time, had a full time business. So it took me quite a while to finish it. By the way, not knocking anyone's college degree, but for me, it was the worst decision I'd ever made. I wasted 10 years of stress. I paid all of it cash myself. I never used it like you.
Yeah, never used. What a waste. And I think that and also there is another book that said why I think it's wrote by Robert Kiyosaki. It said why students A work for student C.
Yeah,
You see?
I was a C student.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Welcome to the club. But in the at the end of the day, uh, our experience, you see, I'm looking to my parents, and this is they try to do their best, okay, and to support you, and they want to protect you, right? uh, on the other hand, the life of entrepreneur is very lonely. Okay, we discussed that before the broadcast, and how you feel, because I've been through the same process when you started that business. Okay, when you're gonna put a lot of money, when it's a lot of money down the line, when you have to take decisions on your own that if something goes bad, it's gonna be it's gonna be hard because there's a lot of money involved in whatever you're doing. And then you're alone in this country. I mean, you have friends and whatever, but and now you have to take those decisions, and then you have on one side dad and mom telling you, please slow down. Why do you want more? You're taking too much risk. So now you have this worry from yourself that you have to take a tough decision, that that there is a risk involved. Then you have your dad and mom advice. It's not bad advice, it's what they think. And they try to protect, but now you need to bring that, okay? And then and how you overcome all these challenges, and where do you find the courage and the strength?
Yeah, I guess maybe at a young age, fortunately, we don't have our brain developed enough to see what risk is, especially young men. Up until 25 years old, our brain isn't connected properly to take into account the risk and what could go wrong. That's why young men will jump off a cliff, right? They'll do crazy things. So that's a good time to start your entrepreneurship journey so you can test it out and you won't fail too much because it's not that much money. But I just always remembered that, my dad he thought very, very small. And in the day I realized it's not his fault. He had a rough life. Oh, these are his limitations. Everything he's telling me, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. He's talking to himself. He shouldn't do that. But then I got experience from television in the 1980s. Capitalism was booming. It's communist versus capitalism. I'm on the capitalist side. My daughter's name is Reagan because of Ronald Reagan. The president was anti-communist. And so I saw a vision of I saw a vision of capitalism that I liked. And I saw television programs that showed me what the rich kids had. And I thought, I want to do those things. The irony is now, you wouldn't think I'm much of a capitalist because I have a very simplistic life. I don't own jewelry. I don't own a watch. I'm a very simple guy. When I walk outside, everybody must think I'm poor. So it's not about buying toys anymore. It's about building wealth and having peace and freedom and getting to do whatever I want every day.
Absolutely. And pass this mentality to your kids. I think that stereotypes of wealth, people think that, well, if you have this car, if you have this is you're wealthy. And most of the time they are wrong financials, the wrong financials decision that people made, and then you can see that they are they are all broke, and everything, all they do is work and work and work and work, and they don't have a life just to pay off everything. I remember talking about the subject with my dad when my dad started to work in my business in London. Right, he would tell me, "Do this," and then I won't do it. And then I find you talk about coaching in your 5 step: find a mentor, find a coach, and then you then I used to be in a property mastermind and there in London, and I would be meeting with those property entrepreneurs, and I was discussing the challenge. And then my friends that they're entrepreneurs, property multimillionaire, they would tell me, Harry, look, you should do this in the business, try out, it will be okay. Which it was the same advice from daddy. Yeah, 6 months early. And then I come back and then I implement it. And then I remember my daddy getting upset saying, well, you don't listen to me. You go and listen to other people and you never listen to me. Then look, at the end you did it. Why you don't listen to me? And until today, he's taking me a lot of time to explain him that dad, you're my dad, and you love me. But you know, an entrepreneur, you never build a business. So the advice that I get from you in a decision making process is doesn't have the same weight like someone that is an entrepreneur that is giving me the same advice. And I'm still trying to convey this idea to my dad until he doesn't get it. That
And there's one more step to that.
yes, go
It's
ahead.
a biblical saying that says that no prophet is accepted in his own land. When you're too close to the people, it's hard. I've had friends of mine talk to my kids, and that friend might not have as much experience as I have in that, but it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. My kids want to hear from someone else, not me every time.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah. So it's a little bit uh for me, Joel, I think that again, entrepreneurs, we are the people that nobody understands us. Only entrepreneurs, we understand each other, right? We are lonely wolves that we have this podcast where we already interview over 500 million entrepreneurs, and it's like a family, and which actually makes me really happy because I'll meet amazing people like you every time that I do this. So still there are um, when it comes to taking advice from entrepreneurs, from a mentor. Okay, when it comes to business, I think that is more effective because they can understand to you. So tell us a little bit more about what in terms of coaching and mentorship, we have a challenge out there that if somebody want to coach and a mentor, they do exactly the opposite that you described, right? They go to Facebook, they go to whatever, they find a mentor with a Lamborghini and a Rolls Royce and a big mansion. I say, oh, this is gonna be my coach, and then
Yeah.
they spend a lot of money, they get very little value, and now oh, mentoring and coaching doesn't work, right? Whether doing the due diligence and see, okay, who actually uh, build or can help me to build sustainable wealth. So, what advice do you have for people out there trying to find a mentor and uh, trying to find the right mentor and the right coach, and how they can be a better man? Right? Tell us how this process work, how people can find you. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
more about your program. We would love to hear about it.
Yeah, so this did not start as a business. It was a volunteer thing. I was leading groups just for fun. I've been coaching for years for free. And then I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And someone said, an opportunity to start building this more by charging, only because people will take it more seriously. Okay, let's give that a shot. Immediately, it became a real business. And so it's 31dailychallenges.com. That's the website. We have a men's program and we have a separate women's program. Men's program is where I run. And I have two books right now for men. It's called 31 Days to Become a Better Man. And I have Next Level Man. And what we do is we mostly entrepreneurs sign up for this because they like my story. They've seen my success without the Lamborghini, without the fake stuff. My success is my family, my health, the legacy I know I've built, and zeros in a bank account that no one's ever going to see because I don't put it out on the street. So I'm not for everybody. I'm not the flashy guy. That's fine. Let those guys go with those scam artists online. But what we do is we get together for 31 days, and every day you read a little bit, just one chapter. The chapters take 3 to 5 minutes to read. And every day there's a challenge. Physical one, so you're staying strong, but a mental one as well. And these could be as simple as, I'll give you one tip. One day you got to get a piece of paper out and write a handwritten note to someone, anyone, and mail it. Put it in the mail. It's so powerful. I've sent, I don't know, 500 of these before. I built relationships with my competitors, my vendors, my clients, and bought 14 of their companies. It started with a handwritten note, but I've also built spectacular relationships with amazing people that people say, you met them from, how did you meet that person? How did you get them to be in your life? Send them a handwritten note. So one of the days, that's the challenge, but every day there's a different one. But the real power isn't picking up a $20 book and doing the exercises, is doing it in a group. So we have this course that we do every month. We'll launch a different one, and it's 31 days. We meet on Zoom 5 times in those 31 days together, record them in case you can't make one. We email it to you. And then it's a really safe, private space where we just chat about what's going on in our lives based around these challenges. And then we have a WhatsApp where we keep each other accountable and push each other through. Beautiful thing is I've seen major transformations. 2.5 years I've been doing this. Over 700 men have finished my program successfully. I tell them all the same thing.
Wow.
I say, you give this an effort and it doesn't change your life, you get your whole money back. And the whole money is $200. That's it. And if it doesn't change their life, I'll give them their money back. No one has asked me for their money back. It's changing people's lives.
100%. And Joel, we want from this broadcast all entrepreneurs to be wealthy, healthy, and happy. And the biggest challenge, that one of the challenges that entrepreneurs face, right? Because again, we are a lonely wolf, and we have more responsibility than everybody else. So the level of pressure and negative emotions that we have to experience while running those businesses, um, if those negative emotions, you don't deal with them, the emotional pain can become physical pain. You can end up with cancer, heart attack, you name it, right? It was one guy in this podcast, in one of the previous episodes. He has 3 businesses. He was like selling over 1 million in each business, and the guy was vomiting blood. And he told me, Harry, I reached to a point and I said, I'm running this business is not running me. And he took a flight and he spent 1 year in Thailand. See, he shared the story here in this previous episode of the Unstoppable podcast. So the the question is, Joel, when did you find out that it was another layer above making money, which is stay healthy, right? And stay happy. For example, you shared that you were doing this as a community, this project as community service, like doing coaching and mentorship. Because the thing is that when you put something out there and you transform other people's life, the level of fulfillment that you can experience is bigger than money. You get paid in another currency. You get paid in love, in appreciation. I can tell you how many people when I'm walking in London or in different cities around the world, but in London in particular, I dress always purple like this, very colorful, and they find me in the metro. Harry, that's you, man. I saw your conference. I love it, and this is my family. I did what you say, man. I changed my life. Let's take a picture, and then they say, "Good luck to you. God bless you. Wish you well." And when I arrive home, I don't even remember which conference he's talking about. Not even which year, because everything happened so fast. But the only thing that I'm thinking is, wow, it may unbelievable. I say something, don't remember what actually happened, but it make a big impact in the life, and the level of fulfillment that give you, the level of joy that this give you. You get paid in another currency better than money. People don't want you. You don't get sick. People wish you so well. So much positive energy comes to you that people that you don't get sick. You're happy. People wish you to stay well. So tell us about this second and third level, which is the contribution side. Because honestly, Joel, you don't need the $200, and you don't need to be doing this coaching.
Yep.
You are entitled to be in the beach and don't do anything anymore. You actually earn it, so you don't need to do what you do. And let's put it in perspective. It's kind of, and the fact that you're charging is so the people are committed to the challenge, so they get a
That's right.
transformation for themselves. Yeah. So then, why you doing? Why you don't go
Yeah.
to, here in Florida? You the cruise depart from here. You can go to Royal Caribbean and stay a month there, enjoying life. Why still
Yeah.
you working?
Well,
What
I do
motivates
enjoy
you?
life. I do enjoy life, and I have a great life that I never would have dreamt of. However, um, yeah, I've definitely noticed there's a lot more than money. And you're right. I charge people $200 because I need them to have some investment so that they'll try. I have a friend, very
They
successful,
need to
well
take it
known.
seriously. If they don't
Yeah.
commit, they won't take it seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend, pretty well known, famous guy who took my course. I didn't charge him for it. And then later he didn't do well. And I asked him about it. And he said, I guess because you gave it to me for free, I didn't value it. Okay, no more freebies. So as I started making some money, I started feeling more relaxed. Pressure was off to just because I have memories of where we couldn't afford a refrigerator, and my parents moved here, and they were very smart with their little bit of money. They took $3,000 that they saved and they put it as a down payment in the early '80s and bought a house. But we didn't have the money for a refrigerator, so we had a camping cooler with some ice. That's where our food was. So you remember things like that as a kid, and you don't want to go back to that. But once you hit X amount of homes, not for me personal consumption, but rental properties, certain figure in the retirement funds, like in the stock market, and cash flowing businesses, and cash in the bank, you go, well, I think we're going to be okay, right? So I'm okay for the rest of my life. I should be fine. Kids should be fine. Although I tell them they're not going to get an inheritance. I hope to surprise them one day when I'm gone, or at some point they'll get some inheritance. So, one figure did hit though. When I hit $1 million of earned first time, that was big for me because I wrote in my wallet a little piece of paper that had my income that year. And then I increased it by 15% for the next year, 15% the next year, until I got it to $1 million. And within 100,000 every year was right there. And so when I hit 1 million was the year that I was supposed to hit 1 million in earned income in profit. So that was pretty powerful. And that made me take my foot off the gas. I'll tell you a real quick story. One day I was getting ready to go speak at a university. And this is probably my 10th, 12th time at that university. And my wife said, where are you going to go today? I said, I'm going to go speak here, but I think it's the last time. And she said, why? I said, number one, I don't charge. This is volunteer. And I don't think I'm having an impact on anyone. And that day I sponsored a lunch. And so kids were all around on a table asking me questions and I'd answer. And one of them said, I just want to share something. You were here 3 years ago when I was in my first year in the university. I'm now in my final year, fourth year now. And back then I weighed 30 pounds more. And back then I did not have a business. Today I've gotten in very good shape and I make $50,000 a year. This is like 10 years ago. And I'm about to graduate and I've got a great business in place. And he goes, I want to tell you the moment that got sparked was when you came to speak here. That changed my life. I went home and I told my wife, I'm going to keep speaking there and everywhere else because I had that impact. Thank God the kid told me.
Mhm. So, Joel, tell us if somebody want to be enrolled in the challenge, what people have to do, how the process work, where can they find it, and also tell us about your books, what the titles, where people can find those books, and what are your first chapters of your books.
Well, first of all, if they think this is for them, I'm going to recommend, and this is not a sales tactic. I'm not a good salesman. If you really are interested and you're going to go to the website right now and check it out, tell yourself, I'm going in because I'm signing up. I'm not going to go in to look at it and put it aside. That's loser talk. Remember, I said move fast. You got to be decisive. If not, don't go. Don't go to this website. It's 31dailychallenges.com. You go on there, and on the main banner, it says men's challenges for men or women for women. You click on it. There's a class and there's a date on one of those challenges. Pick one and sign up. The book on the first one is 31 Days to Become a Better Man. I've sold a few thousand copies of that. People told me it's changed their life. I hope so. I think so. The next one is Next Level Man. And let's see. The chapters really are just about finding challenges, and I sprinkle all kinds of challenges. These aren't things that I read in a book. These are things that I've done my whole life that have worked for me. It's what's helped me build wealth, have a phenomenal relationship with my wife, with my 4 kids, with my employees. I rarely ever had an employee leave. I had to coach a lot of them. I had to let go some of them, but we treated our people really well. And we had built really great relationships with people. So yeah, that if people want to find me, I'm also on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, although I don't check that very much. I check Instagram more, and I'm on Facebook, so they can find me in any of those places too.
Favorite chapters of the books?
The what's
Your favorite chapter of your book?
Favorite. Oh, favorite. Okay, so one that was very impactful for me is that I think it's day 18 of 31 Days to Become a Better Man, is to face your fears. And so as I'm doing this chapter with the class, I was doing all the push-ups, I was doing all the challenges. I remember thinking, well, I do have a fear. I came to this country on a boat and it took 12 hours to get here. And 4 of those hours were the worst storm you can imagine. I think about it and I get nervous. My heart races at 50 years old. And I still worry about that because it was very scary. And so I have a fear of the ocean. So what did I do? I took my own advice and I said, you don't have to go jump into the ocean today if you're scared of the ocean, but take the first step. And for me, the first step was to hire a counselor, a therapist. And this is during COVID. So we did it on Zoom. I go once a week to my backyard and I get my laptop out and we talk about everything. And within a few weeks to the deep end of my swimming pool to start treading water. That used to make me very nervous, but she gave me some tricks. By the way,
wow.
Spoiler alert,
Powerful.
she had me talk to my inner child. She had me talk to little Joel, who was on that boat, and tell him that everything's going to be okay. And look what you've built, and look at the family you have. And this relaxed me so much. So a month later, I got scuba certified by going not very deep, but deep enough,
Wow.
30 feet. And I've done 4 dives since then. And so I didn't conquer the fear. I've been working on it. But that gives me so much empowerment for the next thing and the next thing. That's one of 31 challenges and just one of the challenge courses.
Wow, really powerful. I love it because in the fear never goes away. You have to deal with it. I had trained thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs all over the world how to overcome the fear of public speaking. Is the biggest fear that a human being can have, right? And people don't even know what they're so scared of speaking public. And it's very simple. You see, when they are kids, you go and talk to strangers, and your parents come and say, "Hey, don't talk to strangers." So you're a little boy, and you are constantly your parents, society is telling you don't talk to strangers, this is dangerous, and it's so embedded in your unconscious mind that people don't know that they have that fear. It's so hidden that you don't even know why you have this fear, but they know that they are scared to death to public speaking. On the same thing, once an incident happen in your life and it's so deep within not even the conscious mind, the unconscious mind, in order to work with that, it has to a lot of work needs to be done in a deep level.
Yeah.
And this is something that I applaud you for, to work on that, right? Some people are even so scared to even work and try to make some progress. So fear
Thank
never
you.
goes away. It will
No.
never goes away. You have to be able to walk with the fear, right? To handle it, to
Yeah.
say, okay, you're here next to me, let's work together.
That's
Because
right.
it's not going. A lot of people ask me every time that I'm gonna do a conference, "Are you scared?" Of course, Of course, the fear is there. What do you think? I'm gonna show up in front of some people and like it's like that I say something that doesn't make sense. You're gonna be all over the place and in front. So of course that you have this, you have that fear. You just need to work with that fear and do the conference and, and do the talk. It never
Yeah. If you have no
never
fear
goes.
of absolutely. I agree. If you have no fear of anything, you're probably some sort of psychopath. When I go diving,
Absolutely.
I have a knife in my waistband and I have my hand really close to the knife or on the knife because I'm still scared of a shark.
I remember the first time that I dived, I was in Egypt. Yeah, and they said to us, "Well, you wanna dive? You can, but you guys, you're not certified. We're gonna send somebody with you. This is how it works. Do you wanna go?" I said, "Well, let's do it," and it was fantastic. A great experience.
Uh,
But again, a deal embracing the fear and overcoming the fear is and because that, Joel, it will, if you can, this is the experience that we have doing our workshop. Once you have the fear and you become that fear, which is something terrible that happened to you, you see, next time when you're gonna check a new business deal, a new thing, you're not gonna be that scared. You see, in business during my life, several times, things have been going well, and things have been I'm not going so well. I have business that succeeds, I have others that collapse. You see, but and now I'm in the time of my life that that it doesn't matter, whatever new opportunity come, we will deal with it, and is we know that that we're facing some fears, but we will deal with it, and that's how I move forward. Joel, thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
The more trauma you've been through, the less a little bit of business fear is going to affect you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this broadcast, and for all of you following this Unstoppable podcast. How see you in our next episode. How brave entrepreneur like Joel break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Bye.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.